You are underwater, 15 meters down, maybe 20. Your breathing is the loudest thing in the world down here. That slow mechanical rhythm of the regulator, in and out, in and out. Visibility is good today, maybe 25 meters in every direction. And then, at the edge of that visibility, a shape appears. Large, gray, moving with the kind of effortless hydrodynamic precision that took evolution 400 million years to build. A great white shark, 3 meters, maybe 4. It cruises into your field of vision, adjusts its trajectory slightly, and passes you at maybe 8 meters distance. It looked at you. You know it looked at you because you saw the eye track. And then it kept going. You watch it disappear back into the blue. Your regulator keeps cycling, in and out. You are completely fine. Why? Think about what just happened from the shark's perspective. You are a slow, awkward, mechanically breathing anomaly floating in its home environment. It has sensory systems so refined they border on science fiction. It can detect 1 part of blood per million parts of water, the equivalent of a single drop dissolved across an Olympic swimming pool. It can feel the electrical field generated by your beating heart through specialized organs called ampullae of Lorenzini. It can sense the pressure waves your fins create from hundreds of meters away through its lateral line system. It knew you were there long before you saw it. It came close enough to assess you completely, and it chose to keep swimming. The reason it made that choice is more complex, more ancient, and more revealing about what humans actually are in the ocean than almost anyone realizes. Start with the most important thing to understand about shark predatory behavior, because almost everything popular culture has told you about this is wrong. Sharks are not indiscriminate killing machines. They are extraordinarily selective predators operating under an extremely precise cost-benefit calculation that has been refined across 400 million years of evolutionary pressure. A great white shark in good health burns significant energy with every hunting attempt. A failed attack, a missed strike, a prey animal that fights back unexpectedly represents a caloric deficit that can take days to recover from. More critically, sharks do not heal the way mammals do. A significant wound sustained during a hunt can become infected, can impair swimming efficiency, can cascade into a threat to the animal's survival. This means every single decision a shark makes about whether to engage with something is filtered through a risk assessment system of extraordinary sensitivity. Is this prey item familiar? Is its behavior consistent with known prey? Is the caloric reward worth the potential cost of engagement? A human diver fails this calculation almost immediately. Here's what a shark is actually detecting when it assesses a diver. The ampullae of Lorenzini, tiny gel-filled pores distributed across the shark's snout and head, detect bioelectric fields generated by living organisms with sensitivity measured in billionths of a volt. Every fish, every seal, every ray produces a characteristic bioelectric signature that sharks have evolved over millions of years to recognize and categorize. Your bioelectric signature is completely outside that catalog. You produce a field, but it is the wrong field, the wrong frequency, the wrong pattern, the wrong distribution across your body. You are not in the system. And an organism that is not in the system does not trigger the predatory response. It triggers the assessment response, which is a fundamentally different neurological state. The lateral line compounds this. The lateral line is a sensory system running along the length of the shark's body, detecting pressure waves and water displacement with extreme precision. A fish in distress produces a specific irregular pressure pattern that sharks have evolved to home in on across vast distances. A seal swimming near the surface produces a characteristic splash pattern that great whites in particular have learned to associate with prey. A human diver produces neither of these patterns. Your fin kicks are slow, rhythmic, and mechanically regular in a way that has no analog in the natural prey behavior of any shark species. Your movement through the water is so unlike anything a shark has evolved to hunt that your pressure signature reads as genuinely foreign, not dangerous necessarily, just completely outside the expected parameters of anything worth pursuing. Now add the sound. Sharks detect low-frequency sounds through an inner ear system and a structure called the macula neglecta, and they are particularly sensitive to the irregular low-frequency sounds produced by injured or struggling animals. That specific acoustic pattern, the sound of something in distress, is a deep evolutionary trigger. Your regulator produces a very different sound. The mechanical rhythm of compressed air moving through a demand valve is regular, artificial, and completely unlike any biological sound in the ocean. It has no analog in 400 million years of shark acoustic experience. To a shark's auditory system, you sound like something that has no business being underwater, which is accurate. But more importantly, you sound like nothing it has ever learned to associate with a meal. Here's where it gets genuinely interesting, because the assessment that sharks perform when they encounter divers is not a simple pass-fail check. Researchers studying great white behavior off the coast of South Africa and the Neptune Islands in Australia have documented what they describe as investigative behavior sequences, structured patterns of approach, circle, assess, and either engage or disengage that are distinct from both predatory attack sequences and simple avoidance. When a great white investigates a diver, it is running a multivariable assessment protocol that integrates bioelectric data, pressure wave data, visual data, and acoustic data simultaneously. The result of that assessment, in the overwhelming majority of documented encounters, is disengagement, not because the shark is afraid of the diver, but because the diver fails to match any of the prey templates the shark has built across its lifetime of successful hunting. You are not prey. You are a problem. The shark's sensory system cannot categorize cleanly, and uncategorizable objects do not get eaten. They get assessed and then ignored. The cases where this breaks down follow a consistent and important pattern. The majority of shark bites on humans occur in low visibility conditions, near the surface, often in areas where actual prey species are present in high numbers. Surfers account for a disproportionate share of shark incidents, not because sharks specifically target surfers, but because a surfer on a board viewed from below in low visibility produces a silhouette and movement pattern that overlaps significantly with the profile of a large sea turtle or a juvenile elephant seal, actual prey items for great whites. The shark is not making a mistake. It is correctly executing a predatory sequence based on the sensory information available. The information happens to be incomplete because the conditions degraded the shark's ability to run its full assessment protocol. When full sensory assessment is possible, as it almost always is for divers in clear water at depth, the outcome is almost never an attack, because the full picture clearly does not match any prey template. There is a layer to this that most coverage of shark behavior never reaches. The ocean's apex predators are not behaving the same way they did 300 years ago in areas with significant human presence. Researchers tracking shark behavior in heavily dived locations, the Red Sea, the Maldives, the Caribbean, have documented measurable shifts in shark behavior around divers over time. Sharks in these locations show reduced investigative behavior toward divers compared to sharks in areas with lower diver presence. They are not becoming more comfortable in the sense of losing their assessment protocols. They are updating their prey catalogs based on accumulated experience. Divers have become a known quantity, a recurring sensory input that consistently fails to produce a reward, and the sharks have adjusted their behavior accordingly. They are learning, across individual lifetimes and potentially across social information transfer, that the slow mechanical thing breathing compressed air at 15 meters is not worth the detour. Here is what science can say with confidence. Sharks possess sensory systems of extraordinary sensitivity that allow them to assess the bioelectric, acoustic, pressure wave, and visual profile of any object in their environment with precision that has no equivalent in terrestrial predators. Human divers consistently fail to match the bioelectric, acoustic, and movement signatures of any known shark prey species. Shark investigative behavior sequences are neurologically distinct from predatory attack sequences and represent a fundamentally different assessment state. The overwhelming majority of documented human-shark encounters in clear water at depth result in disengagement following assessment. Incidents involving bites almost always involve conditions that degraded the shark's ability to complete its full sensory assessment protocol. What science cannot yet fully answer is what the experience of that assessment feels like from the inside of a shark's nervous system. Whether there is something that functions like recognition, like curiosity, like the processing of a novel sensory input by a brain that has been solving ocean problems for 400 million years. Whether the great white that tracked you with its eye and kept swimming was doing something that in any meaningful sense resembles a decision. So go back to that moment. The shape at the edge of visibility, the eye that tracked you, the vast gray body that adjusted its course slightly and continued past. You felt something in that moment that was not quite fear and not quite awe, but existed somewhere in the space between them. You were being assessed by something ancient, something that has outlasted dinosaurs, ice ages, and mass extinction events. Something whose sensory systems are so refined that it knew more about your physiology in that 8-meter pass than you will ever know about it. It ran every test it had. It checked your bioelectric field, your pressure signature, your acoustic profile, your silhouette. And you came back as nothing it recognized. Not prey, not threat, not anything in the catalog, just a slow, air-breathing, mechanically rhythmic anomaly hovering in its water. It filed you under unknown and kept going. You watched it disappear into the blue. Your regulator kept cycling. And somewhere 400 million years of evolution had just decided, without drama, without ceremony, that you were not worth the trouble.